All right. Good morning. I am in charge of strategy here at the Fidelis Creative Agency. And so I always try and pick something that I find over the weekend that I just think is awesome. And then I make a commentary on it. And today I found something called, this is on LinkedIn. The account is called Call Me Olga. That made sense to her to say it that way. That's not me. That's what she says. But it was a great piece, and she is in applied ethics and EQ and human AI readiness and group psychodynamics. That's how she introduces herself on LinkedIn. Not me, that's her. Here's what she says that I did really like. You are being taste washed. I always suspected I was. Recent sociological research suggests that Silicon Valley's influence has moved far beyond data collection. It is actively reshaping the boundaries of human preference. I knew they were doing that. I felt it. I felt it deep. This shift is increasingly referred to as taste washing. Large-scale cultural analysis shows that predictive algorithms on platforms like Instagram, Spotify, Pinterest don't just reflect our desires, they're homogenizing them. By favoring high engagement, predictable aesthetics, these systems create a feedback loop. We knew that. The result is a measurable decline in cultural variance, which is difference, right? Which explains why modern cafes, hotel interiors, indie music playlists, and graphic design trends across the globe are starting to look and sound identical. Blah, blah, blah. This isn't a dystopian conspiracy, but a systemic byproduct of optimization. When platforms prioritize friction-free consumption, they naturally filter out the unusual, eccentric, or polarizing choices that historically drove cultural evolution. As automated curation becomes our primary lens for discovering art, food, and design, the core challenge shifts from protecting our data privacy to preserving our cognitive and aesthetic autonomy. Yeah. All right. That's the end of her post. It was awesome. I commented. That was a great insight. It's true. So essentially, we do this easy presentation that is funny or sexy or whatever it is. And because it's easy for us to consume, we watch it and then we get more of the same and more of the same and more of the same. And we don't actually interact with content that uses big words or that challenges us in our thinking or our ideas or requires complexity or pushes the envelope of the kinds of stuff that we consume. And as a result, you're just getting the same stuff recycled on repeat. It's true, it is happening, no doubt. The problem is that like life is pretty complex, and what is real and what is true often requires some serious sorting. And it requires minds that aren't addled and confused and like addicted to cotton candy kind of content. But it is all shaping because that's the stuff that performs. Now, what do you do about it? It's what I'm faced with, that I'm trying to do about it. And I would give you 3 things that you can be doing, okay? 1, you can prioritize analog life. Real people, real conversations, real experiences, real sweaty walks in the Texas afternoon sun, real swimming pools, real books, real concerts, real experiences. That's the stuff that actually will help keep your brain pushing as sort of a counterforce to this effect. 2, you can get weird with your inputs, like intentionally weird. Like maybe you think it is 2026 and I don't know what's going on in the world of Japanese jazz. I'm gonna sort that out. I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna start figuring out and going on deep dive research into the world of Japanese jazz music. Well, maybe nobody else ever that you encounter is gonna be that into it. Or maybe you find some community of people who are into it. Well, your affinity for Japanese jazz is going to have some kind of a ripple effect in other things that you consume. And then when you go to actually create something or have an engaging conversation, you're going to pull this strange thread because 2 years ago you spent 6 months deep diving into Japanese jazz. That's how our brains work when they're not being constantly restricted by the algorithms and the platforms. So 1, prioritize analog life. 2, get weird with your inputs. And 3, real old things with centuries tested info as opposed to info from the last 15 minutes. You're typically going to find this in books, the kinds of things that they throw away at the back of the half-price books because nobody's reading them. I would encourage you to read them, to find out the old things that withstood centuries and millennia of critique. Those things are time-tested in a way that our analog or our digital minds don't know how to grapple with. So start to get familiar with things that have stood the test of time. All right, those would be my 3 recommendations. Thank you, Call Me Olga. Thank you for your contribution to LinkedIn. So hope you guys are great. Take care.